So even though I do understand what means these two first words of your comment, that's pretty much calls Zelensky like the last person in the world, the guy who destroyed its own citizens. I agree with you. He definitely doesn't care, and he does not want to save Ukraine, because if he did, first of all, when he was elected in 2019, you guys can scroll my page, you can find that video. When Zelensky ran for office, the war in Ukraine was already in. Like I said, it started in 2014 with Ukraine started bombing eastern Ukraine area. The people who didn't want to submit to coup government, which West sponsored the coup and took down elected president of Ukraine. Imagine that. And Victoria Nuland, our Secretary of Eurasian Affairs at the time, she started, I think, Obama appointed her, but I think Hillary Clinton, she worked under her for a little bit. I'd have to double check, but I think she started from Hillary. And then, of course, there was Biden administration, vice president, and McCain, all these people, they were all together bringing down legally elected president in Ukraine in 2014. It started late 2013. So with that said, when Ukraine started bombing eastern Ukraine and it was going on, Zelensky in 2019 ran for presidency, right? He played a president in the TV show. The TV show was called Servant of the People. Famous oligarchs sponsored that show, at least co-sponsored. Of course, Zelensky is his own businessman as well, a pretty successful entertainer career in his life. But so when Zelensky played the president in the show, and the show was called Servant of the People, very popular show in Ukraine. By the way, in that very show, it shows that Ukraine falls apart and splits in many pieces. I don't know what's so funny about that, but apparently whoever the producers of the show were, they considered it funny. And so it's sort of a comedy slash, I don't know, dramedy. If you think about Zelensky playing the president, he actually played a teacher who by serendipity becomes president. And then he stands and stares at this map of Ukraine, and it has all these little parts. So I don't know, prophetic show or what? So when Zelensky ran for office in 2019, he promised that if he is the president, then Ukraine will stop shelling Donbass, which is eastern Ukraine area. And that's why people voted for him. But he never did. He became president, gave his dog and pony show, his Hollywood production, gave inauguration speech saying, our first order of business is to stop shelling in Donbass. Everybody applauded. And that was the end of the first order of business. Never happened. Never happened. The war and the shelling of Ukraine by the eastern Ukraine, the Donbass region, the Lugansk and Donetsk, and those surrounding areas is continuing to this day. So Zelensky didn't deliver on his promise, but when he became a president, the parties that is backing him, again, also the name of the show, Servant of the People. So his show has the same name as his political party. Well, I guess we can take it very safely as entire thing is just a show. And in the recent few years, former chief of staff of Zelensky himself, his name is Andrei Bogdan. If you guys know, you can Google his interview. Of course, he interviews and speaks in Ukrainian and Russian, and obviously I'm fluent in both, so I can watch either way. He basically said that he left Zelensky's office as a chief of staff. It sounds like he was let go or they had differences. But when Andrei Bogdan was asked why and what he thinks of Zelensky, he said, well, I think, he said, Zelensky sold the idea. All he cares about, Zelensky, is applause and ratings. He constantly checks his Facebook profile. He constantly checks his likes and his, kudos, how people approve of him. And when the interviewer asked Mr. Bogdan, who is, again, former chief of staff of Zelensky, and the guy who helped Zelensky run and win presidency, interviewer asks this guy Bogdan and says, well, why does Zelensky lie? He lied to me personally several times, and this was small things. Interviewer, Mr. Gordon, he's asking Bogdan. And Bogdan says, oh, but you don't understand Zelensky. He's not lying. He's acting. In his mind, he's not lying. He is acting. I thought that was very profound. So former Zelensky's chief of staff impression of Zelensky is that when other people feel that Zelensky is lying in his own mind, he doesn't feel like he is lying. He just is acting. Oh my gosh. And that was very insightful from former chief of staff of Zelensky. Unreal people. And of course, the same interview goes to say, Mr. Bogdan said that nobody works in the office of the president. Zelensky has another chief of staff now after Bogdan was let go. His name is Mr. Yermak. And I know everybody is asking, is Yermak really the one running the country, not Zelensky? Mr. Bogdan was asked that question too. And he said, well, Yermak sits in Zelensky's cabinet in his office. Bogdan said he was not allowed to sit in Zelensky's office, or at least he didn't have the guts to do it. But Mr. Yermak, current chief of staff of Zelensky's, he sits right in Zelensky's office, which everybody who taped that interview found that it was quite odd that Zelensky is not in his office. And who is running the show is his basically new chief of staff, Mr. Yermak. So Mr. Bogdan, again, made interesting observation when asked about how was it to work with Zelensky, what Zelensky does all day. Well, Andrei Bogdan said, well, all they do is they do different PR campaigns. Okay, they're going to go and deliver flowers and lay them down in a ceremony someplace. Okay, then there is a next flower ceremony. Then there is a next photo shoot. Then there is a next photo shoot. So according to Zelensky's former chief of staff, Mr. Bogdan, nobody is working. He said in his interview that it's very frustrating that the president of Ukraine and the people who work in the cabinet of the president, they should be doing, he said, a lot of bureaucratic jobs. You have to sign papers, you have to talk to people, you have to do things, you have to move this country forward. But he said that they are not doing anything. They are just pushing paper if they have a chance, but mostly rush from one photo shoot to the next. It was pretty shocking. So no wonder Ukraine has been run by pretty much United States and EU, that if all Zelensky cares, according to his former chief of staff, is ratings, Facebook likes, the new photo shoot. And remember that photo shoot that Zelensky and his wife did for Vogue cover? Are you kidding me? Your people are dying in your country, and you find nothing better to do than pose for the Vogue, a fashion magazine photo shoot cover. Really? And of course, Mrs. Zelensky, when she comes to United States, instead of asking for peace as a proper first lady, which is actually governed by diplomatic protocol, what the first lady should be talking about, peace, right, Mrs. Zelensky? But no, she asked United States for weapons.